Okay, so today we are going to be recording how to kill a Thargoid. So when we get up to I got a xeno scanner on this thing, so I'm going to jump in and scan him quick. Now, what we kind of want to show here is the cold orbiting techniques. So after you get your scan, it's going to give you the information. For a new Thargoid hunter, that's quite useful. We know that it's not necessary, but for the purposes of showing new guys how to do this, so I put the xeno scanner on and got my scan. So you get your laser firing onto the target, and what you want to be doing here is using your boost and also your down thrust, okay, with flight assistance off. Now you can see I'm going to take a little bit of damage here, and that's okay, but you want to get your orbit, and then once you see how the Thargoid, as you come around him, the Thargoid's actually traveling the opposite direction of you. So if you go into reverse thrust, you can pull away from the Thargoid. And then that gives you an opportunity to use your flak launcher to take down the swarm. So we do that, and I mean this is the process that you need to kind of get used to. Take down the swarm, and then take down the heart. If you go after the first heart immediately, it's actually going to launch 2 swarms. So it's usually more useful to just get rid of that initial swarm first, and then you move in. And at this point, I still toggle. I know there's some very skilled commanders out there that can do flight assistance off the entire time. It is quite difficult, especially if you're using a controller or HOTAS, but that's something you can work towards. What I do is I just will toggle. I think what I'm doing is I'm just trying to illustrate here the flight assistance off technique. So you can see I'm just boosting with down thrust, and then it creates kind of an orbit, and I'm trying to illustrate here that you're not going to take much damage. But now you can see the Thargoid turns from it, and it's another tactic because he runs out of ammo, and he'll turn around like this, what he just did to rearm himself, and it's a good opportunity to get some good hits on him. And you can see by the time he turned around, I've already exerted that heart, and you can see that it's that flashing red pedal, and you've got to hit right where that red slot is. Okay, so you use, at this point, you're going to use your heatsink, okay, so to keep yourself cool while you're firing your Gauss cannons. And you can see I took down that heart pretty quickly, and then you just boost off, get out of there, and you put your repair limpet on, and you start repairing your hull. Once you get a fair decent away, this is always after you destroy the heart. It's always when the special effects will come. He'll load his lightning charge. He might fire a caustic missile at you. And so it's always a good idea immediately after you destroy the heart, just to take off, start boosting away from him, get again, put some distance. And he launches another swarm. I turn around and I start, and I think I haven't accurately figured out where the Thargoid is. And if you do this, you're going to take some damage. You can see I do take some damage. And that yellow that you see, it's him charging his lightning. So that's very dangerous. You want to keep note of. So instead of trying to continue to kill the swarm, I decided I was going to go back on an orbit, get cold, and put some distance between me and that Thargoid, because the Thargoid can be quite dangerous when he's in this state. But 3 kilometers away, he can't damage you at all. So we've got a reverse thrust going and firing the flaks at the swarm. And there's the swarm gone, so I can get back into my orbit, because you don't want to just go straight into attack, because the Thargoid's going to really mess you up. So what I do here is, instead of going on attack, I get my repair limpet on again, gets some of that hull damage. I get my shield back online, and I get myself into a better position to be able to go after that Thargoid. Laser on, get the heat down, establish that orbit that you want, so the Thargoid can't damage you. When you're in this state of orbit, the Thargoid cannot land a hit on you, so you're almost invulnerable to the Thargoid, especially if you stay around 3 kilometers. That's outside of his firing range. He can't even touch you. So you're sitting there firing your laser, trying to take his shields down as well. And then once you're ready, and once you kind of feel, okay, I've got this, you go back in and you take another heart down. Okay, so now I'm moving in to try and do some damage. And you can see that yellow again indicates that he's charging his lightning. And he's going to turn away from me to reload, and I've already got his next heart exerted. So I just sit there and you know, try and take some shots from behind. And you can see by the time he turns around, I've already got that mark done. So you just kind of take off, and you want to put some distance between him. Get your repair limpet going. Turn around and try and reestablish your orbit. And it's a good opportunity because he might fire a missile at you. I don't think he does this time, but he could fire a caustic missile at you, and this just puts you in a great position to be able to get away from that missile. Or you'll see later on in the video, the shutdown field. It is just always a good idea immediately after the heart to just put as much distance. So again, just to try and illustrate the cold orbit, you want to be boosting with down thrust till you can pull away, and then of course once you start to get to the other side of the Thargoid, reverse thrust away, and you'll see the distance increase, and that gives you the opportunity to take down the swarm. Now the flak launcher, you can see in the video, you got to wait till it turns red. It's a little bit of an art to get down with this flak launcher, but when you launch it, it has like 3 kind of charges, and then it turns red. You want to wait until it actually turns red. So it's like 1, 2, 3, let go. And that does take some getting used to, but with practice you'll kind of take it. And again, like the Thargoid's closing in on you, so you do your orbit around into reverse thrust, which gives you the distance you need to avoid the damage from that Thargoid. Target the swarm again, and start using your flak launcher to take down that swarm. 1, 2, 3, boop. So it's a bit of a thing to get used to, but once you do, it gets pretty easy. You can use the targeting. Sometimes I find the targeting reticle is kind of off. You can just get a little bit in or target. It like I said, it takes some practice, but keep at it and you'll get it. So at this point in the video, it's basically just repeat. So I don't know how much I'm gonna narrate through the rest of the video, but I'll give you an opportunity to kind of focus on what I'm doing and not hearing me speak. And you can see I have to synthesize some of that flak ammo, and you'll have to do that as well. It's pretty simple to do, but you usually have to at least synthesize one time for the flak ammo to get through the path list. But that's about all you have to synthesize in the entire fight. You should have enough heat sinks. You might have to synthesize some depending on how efficient you are with your heat sinks. And you only want to be using those really when you're on your attack run, because you want to stay as cool as possible while you're firing your Gauss cannons. Other than that, I mean, that beam laser will keep you cold enough the entire fight that you don't have to use any. And again, you can see I wait until he's kind of turned around on me and I go and attack. And that's what that does too, is it reduces the need of you using the heat sinks, because he's not going to fire at you while he's turned. But now that he turns back, you can see I fire my heat sink, get myself cold again, and I've already got that heart exerted. And at that point, you might take a little bit of damage here, but it's nothing to really be worried about as long as you're actually hitting your shots. And here, I do get hit with that lightning, and I always say if you're going to get hit with the lightning, make it count. So I get my shot, and I do take down the heart. And I get smoked with that lightning a little bit, but I take off, and the damage is minimal. Same procedure, I try to kind of get away from the bug, put that repair limpet on, turn myself back around. You can see I haven't really done well at getting away from them. So what I do here is I was planning on going to an orbit, but I see that he has launched that caustic missile, so I change my mind. Then I turn around to just do a straight boost away. And you can see that because he launched that missile, he actually gets slow. So it's fine, and I get my distance around. So at this point, you should have the process somewhat down, and I do want to talk about. There are several theories. You'll hear people talk on AXI, and those guys really know what they're doing too. The way that I do it, it does kind of pull away from what the general, I guess, AXI belief, or the meta, if you will. But I found, I have had great success with this tactic. I can do it in wings. I've taken down Medusa solo. I've done Hydra in groups. Like, this process just keeps you very safe There is a lot of pip management. You can probably tell that I change my pips around quite a lot, but it's you can see I mean I've nearly got this Thargoid taken down, and I'm sitting at 99% hull. It's a very safe way of going about it. You can do this tactic in wings with that turreted beam weapon. It just keeps you out of harm's way, and it allows you to kind of take a minute, learn how to do this Thargoid. And I mean, if you want to play with shieldless builds or flakless builds, there are tons of tactics that people use to kill Thargoids. This is just my way, and I mean, you can do this well into, you know, higher grade Thargoids. I mean, I've used this tactic. I can literally wait for all these shieldless guys to go and repair and rearm when in conflict zones, and I can just sit there and orbit, take down the swarm, orbit, take down the swarm, and I take very minimal damage. You can do this with Hydras. It's just a super solid build, and it's a super solid tactic. You can see again, I go around, pull away into reverse thrust, get that 3 kilometers, and then continue around on my orbit with that beam firing. I mean, you can do this indefinitely. As soon as the swarm, like if you've got an enraged Thargoid, you're like in a CZ or whatever, you can do this just indefinitely and hold a Thargoid for your friends to go and rearm it. There's just so many uses for this kind of tactic. And it's super strong at killing the bugs too. You know, there's a tactic that's like separate your fire groups. I mean, there's all kinds of things. And like I said, I mean, your guys are welcome to experiment with that. You're welcome to do that. I mean, there's lots of ways to skin a cat. And I just find that teaching someone Thargoids, this is just a really solid way to get you used to fighting a Thargoid, and it keeps you fairly safe, and it gives you the time you need to kind of figure this stuff out. And like I said, I still use this build just in solo because it's just a pleasure to fly. A lot of this shieldless stuff, you end up, it's like if you make one wrong move, all your weapons are fried and bad things happen to you. You can see here, I get hit with the field neutralizer, but I'm in flight assistance off, and I'm coasting away, and I take very little damage here. I don't think I take any, in fact. But yeah, guys, I know like people will tend to say things like, "Oh no, it's preferred to go shieldless." Well, I mean, if you like going that way, then you're free to do so. I don't agree. Like for my own play style, the way that I do Thargoids, I really enjoy having that shield. I feel that it protects me a lot more, and I also feel that it allows me not to be perfect. Okay, I can make some mistakes, I can take some hits, and it's not a big deal. And I mean, proof's in the pudding. This is a Basilisk, guys. This is a solo Basilisk kill, and I'm sitting at 100% hull. Okay, and I'm nearly finished this Thargoid. How many? I have to look at the screen again to see it. Yeah, I'm on its last heart. I've got I have one more heart to kill, and I'm sitting at 100% hull. Especially, and I know there's some really pro xeno guys out there, and they can do this shieldless, and hats off to them. But you know, when you're just learning, and especially like I'm not a perfect pilot all the time. I make some mistakes. Even in this fight, I've made some mistakes. So. And you can see so right now I'm taking damage from the Thargoid swarm, and if you were shieldless at this point, you'd be taking some serious damage. Okay, some of your weapons might start failing. You have to go to AMFU, and this build does have AMFU. If it really goes bad, I can still repair myself, just like the shieldless builds do. But it just kind of lets you, the shield is that extra layer of protection that kind of goes, okay, I made a mistake here, and the shield kind of gets you out of it. You can see, and then with that shield, okay, I barely took any damage at all. I'm sitting at 91, but only lost 10% hull. That swarm is down. My shield is coming back, and you know, I've got a repair limpet on, and it's no big deal. And that's what that shield does for you. I get back into my cold orbit, and I'm fine. Okay? And this is my argument, at least, for why this build is so strong, because it allows you to learn, and it allows you to make a couple of mistakes without it being completely, you know, wrecking to your game, and that's why I do it this way. like I said, there's lots of opinions, guys, and you're free to kind of do whatever you want here. That's one of the beauties of this game. But in order for me to teach this is how I teach people to do. Yeah, and there's the last heart exerted. And gone. So now we all we have to do is get that hull down to 0, and I choose to boost off again because I usually can take a Cyclops hull down before he gets his shields online, but very rarely with the Basilisk. So I boost off again and maintain my my orbit on him. I get a little bit careless here because I know there's a couple more shots and he's going to go down, so I get my orbit going. I think I only do one synthesis on flak this round, so I think I kind of let the swarm go. I think I take a few shots at him though, but I just kind of expunge my ammo and then go straight after the Thargoid with the laser on target, get his shield down, and then we've got a Basilisk kill here. Yeah, you see, so I take the 4 shots at the swarm on this one. Again, I've got no more ammo, and I don't really see, because we're so close to finishing, I don't really see a point here to finish off that swarm and have to, synthesize another round of ammunition. So I just kind of take some damage, I get back into my orbit, take this guy's shields down, and go in for the kill. And if you're still tuning, I guess we can talk. This is a good time to kind of talk orbiting. You can see with FA off, I am using a lot of down thruster. That's it's kind of how you establish your orbit. And you can point. You can see I keep kind of pointing down away from the Thargoid, and then you boost with some down thrust, and then point your nose back at him, and that gets you on that kind of orbital trajectory. And then what you do is you kind of put your nose back at him, and your ship's going to be traveling in kind of a circle around the Thargoid. And at this point, I've got his shields down. I am taking some damage from the swarm, but he's close to death. I come in and I just go, screw it. Let's take this guy down. And he hits me with the lightning. He's screwing me up a bit with his shots. Doesn't matter. At this point, there's no kill. There's no taking me out. So I just go after him, and you can see that the Thargoid missiles are coming at me, but it's fine. Thargoid's dead, and there's a Basilisk kill. 24 million credits in your bank account. And I do a little bit of a roll. Woohoo, victory!